this signal works. You're now watching Goodz TV. No script, no schedule, just me.
Hello. Testing, 1, 2, 3. So, look at me. I look crazy, don't I? It's because I just woke up. I've been sleeping all day. Did you see the title of this video? It's called Being Depressed and Shit. That's probably not the title I'm actually going to pick, but that's probably close to it. So, first of all, I have not been recording. I haven't been online. I've been online, but I haven't been recording because I am wrestling with depression, like fighting for my life. And I'm not camera ready. I literally just woke up. I've been sleeping all day because that's what I do now. I sleep all day and then I'm up all night, stressed. I think I'm sleeping during the day because it's just, what's happening? Not sure what's going on. My cameras, I'm using a different setup, y'all, and so I think I was saying before the camera decided it wanted to cut out. Look at my bags. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm going to post this, but I have to keep it real. I think the daytime is just too much for me right now. The daytime seems too real. And so I just don't want to face it. For those of you who don't know, which I think I've talked about this enough for everyone to know, 2023, I moved from New England down to what was supposed to be Columbia, South Carolina. And my goal was to move in, live with my brother and his wife, and pay them a little rent while I saved money. The reason why I decided to move is because leading up to that, 2021 and 2022, I had a really rough year, 2020, like we all did, right? And I had gotten evicted from my apartment. I still stayed there for, the remainder of I probably should have put some brows on. The remainder of COVID, and then eventually when things got back to normal, they was like, okay, bitch, get the fuck out, like they said to a lot of Americans. And I was like, I bet. So I moved from Connecticut to Rhode Island because that was a little bit closer to my job. My job at the time was with the government. It was currently remote, but the idea was it was going to go back to an office. So I was just like, let me go to a different state and maybe that'll be better. So I moved to Rhode Island. I left my sons behind because I couldn't afford to get a place where they were going to be able to live with me. And so that was fucking sad. And I spent the next 2 years in Rhode Island. I ended up quitting that job because I just wanted to be back in tech, and I went back to tech. Busted my ass for the next 2 years, right? I'm thirsty, I'm sorry. This is gonna make me burp in a minute, so I'm sorry for that. Busted my ass to get back on track, like to kind of recover or recuperate from everything that had happened leading up to 2020 and throughout 2020. And I got on it. I got it out the mud. I was in the best shape of my life, the best health of my life. I was making the most money I had made. I did still work 2 jobs, but I was making good money at my one job. I was tech bitch during the day, slanging legal cannabis at night. It was a dream. I had all the trees I wanted. I had all the things I wanted. I was shopping. My rent was paid. My bills were paid. And it was great. During that time, I also kind of wrote off men. I was like, I'm all set with y'all for a bit. And I wasn't dating. And that was amazing, too. I think, honestly, that's when I first started to decenter men in my life. And by doing that, I don't know, things started to go well for me. So, I did that, and it was great. I looked good, I felt good, I was making money, and my bills were current. And then in 2022, the end of 2022, I went to a family gathering, because that's what it was. It wasn't really a reunion, it was like a family gathering. And I'm gonna talk about this more in coming videos. I just realized I'm crusty. I wanted to just start recording because I've been struggling with recording and getting online, specifically because I look so ugly to myself these days. And so if I didn't just get on and do this shit right now, I wasn't gonna get it done. I was gonna make an excuse to wait until later. So I don't give a fuck about. I do give a fuck about what's going on, but right now I have to ignore everything that's going on my face because otherwise I'll talk myself out of this. I'm sorry, but I went to the family reunion, and I'll talk about this more um, in the future. Probably going to be more on the podcast I plan on dropping soon. But I have a horrible relationship with my family, very traumatic past, and bitches just did me wrong for all of my life. And so I spent 25 years away from them in New England because I'm originally from South Carolina. I moved to New York and then New England as a teenager. And I wasn't necessarily no contact with them, but I was just like living my life. They kind of left me for dead anyway, so it worked out. And 2022 was the first time I had seen a lot of them or been around most of them for almost 25 years. And I thought with all the years and all the time that I spent healing away from them, all the years of therapy, with everything I had gone through and survived, I thought that the last thing I needed to do was just kind of reconnect with my family. I was like, okay, I'm to that point in my healing where I can reconnect with them and I can move on and things will be great. Yay! No. But or spoiler alert, no. But anyway, so I'm getting ahead of myself. So at this family gathering, I remember when I was leaving to go back to Rhode Island, I was sad, bitch. Like I was sad. My godparents, in particular, where I had spent, most of my time there, have always been there for me, so to speak. Like even though I said everything I just said about them and all of that was true, of all of my family, my godparents were the ones who were kind of there for me the most and I could call them for stuff if I really needed it. And growing up, I spent a lot of my time living with them. They're literally like my parents. Um, wow, I'm getting emotional talking about that. But when I was leaving them in particular, they were, I cried. I was like, I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to stay. I want to stay. I love you guys because I just missed them. And whatever, I had my little moment. I got on the plane and took my ass the fuck back home. And so when I got back home, I had been in contact more with my family. And this is also when I was home that time, it was the most I had spoken to my mother because I did go no contact with my mom. So, whatever, over a course of a few conversations between them and talking with my brother, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to move down south. Like the north is too expensive. While I'm paying things, I want more. And I think I'll just do better if I go down south. And that's how I came up with the plan to move down south, go live with my brother in Columbia, and then eventually purchase a home in Charlotte because there was like a thing where Bank of America would let you, like, I forget what the whole thing was. It was like a whole program they had that was going to be beneficial to someone like me buying a home late in life. My credit was okay, but it wasn't great, and so there was no credit requirement, no down payment, this type of shit. I'm sure there were other caveats that I would need to meet or address, but whatever. So that was when I planned for the next few months, and January of 2023, I took my ass the fuck down and moved in with my brother. And that was the beginning of what has seemed like the motherfucking end, because moving with my brother within 2 weeks, within a month, 2 weeks and a month, it was already pretty obvious it was going to be hard living there. I worked from home and they had a lot going on. My brother had grandkids that would come over and literally be playing, like, I was calling it the fucking Jackson 5 because they would come in, there's a full drum set, keyboards and singing and carrying on, and I don't think they got Like, I think some people really don't get the concept of work from home. I think they think it's like a party time. You could just chill, do whatever. And I was actively working my ass off. I had meetings and calls. And for the most part, during the day, they were okay. But there were some times where it overlapped and I had to minimize all of the noise for my work calls. And just a number of things. I just felt like it was gonna be a rough time. It was probably also me adjusting because I had lived alone for so long, and now I'm living with people. And I'm a huge neat freak. I'm super OCD, or I have OCD. I don't officially, but I do. But whatever. Because I hate saying that, and then people who actually have OCD are like, "Bitch, you know what my life is like." So I don't want to like um just be dismissive of how serious of a condition it is, but I am a neat freak. Is basically what I'm saying. So it was just a lot of things I was having a hard time adjusting, and in particular, my sister-in-law smoked cigarettes in the garage with the door open, and that would the garage door that led into the house, and the smoke would come directly up the stairs to where I was. I have asthma, and that it was tearing my ass up. I don't know why. I think it was just because again I had been alone. I hadn't dealt with that, and now I'm down south, and I probably was dealing with some allergy shit that I didn't realize. Whatever the fuck, and so it just wasn't gonna work out. Or I was having a hard time, and I was speaking to one of my godmother about the shit. Not even like on no snitch shit, just like kind of. I'm honest. I'm just. I say what it is, and so she was like, "Why don't you just come here? Me and your uncle are here. It's just us. We got this big old house, and you don't gotta pay rent." Okay, now here is my hometown that I grew up in until I moved away, and I knew there was nothing there. Like there was nothing there, but I was like, if I want to go shopping or do stuff, I can just drive to Myrtle Beach and whatever. But it was definitely the lack of rent that made the idea sound so appealing. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll be there. My mom is there, and I have high school friends. Maybe this will work out. Maybe it'll be fine. I have a great job. Their house is nice. I know it's going to be clean the way I like it, and da 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 da. Now I knew it was gonna be some shit because I called their house Jesus Jail because my godfather, I call him Uncle Godfather. Uncle Godfather is a pastor. He's been a pastor all my life. He is like I'm 44, so he's probably like a 40-year military veteran. Like he's done a couple of what is it, tours in Afghanistan. He has a Purple Heart. He's a what do you call it, commander, sergeant major, something. He's that dude. Like he is definitely that dude. And I love my uncle to death. Like that's my motherfucking nigga. So, but it's Jesus Jail. My auntie is very like religious, and growing up she didn't even wear pants, and um, like super religious. I knew it was gonna be that. So I was telling my friends, I was like, I'm not going to be able to. I'm not gonna be able to like talk to you guys how I do normally. I'm definitely not gonna be cussing. I smoke weed, so I knew I was gonna have to hide that. That wasn't like a main concern because my mom is fucking Snoop Doggy Dogg, and so I knew I'd just be at her house all the time doing that and whatever. I just knew it was gonna be bad. I was not prepared for how bad it was, really though. I was not prepared for how traumatic it was going to be, and I'll go into the details of what was happening later, but it was extremely rough. My auntie, for whatever reason, she had this fucking vendetta against me, and it was fucking horrible. She was just really mean to me, and super passive aggressive, and just really narcissistic behaviors. It was a lot, and I was having a hard time, and so I was just staying gone all the time. And eventually I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll find me like a little dude, little boyfriend, because now it's been, over 2 years. I haven't been dealing with men. Maybe I'll find like a little guy friend, and then I'll be able to, figure out ways to get out the house or just go missing and not have to deal with my aunt as much. My uncle and I were fine, but my aunt it was a lot. Which is funny because my aunt is my mom's twin sister. My uncle is just my uncle by marriage. You know what I mean? But that's the way it was. Um, and I had to go back up north to get my braces taken off. And so when I came back from that, I started getting on the apps, the dating apps. Don't know why I did that. That was fucking stupid. And so this eye is so puffy. It's because I was crying a lot yesterday. So I get on the apps and I immediately meet a guy and things go really fast with him. And before I know it, I was pretty much moving in with him. Now I'm speeding past this because that story needs to be told by itself. I get with him and things go the way they go, and within months I know this is not the situation I want to be in, but I don't want to move back because at some point I moved in kind of fully with him, and I don't want to move back in with my aunt. Like, I just don't want to. And so I was trying to make my escape from this guy secretly, but also trying to plan a place for me to go live on my own. In the midst of that, I lose my job. Now, losing the job was some bullshit. It was definitely some bullshit, and they were cleaning house and things like this because the company was going to be sold. But I had fallen off of my game also. I'm not going to sit there and act like my performance hadn't suffered in this situation I was with this guy. But I lose my job, and at this point, I fucking know I'm going to fuck back to my aunt and uncles. I don't want to go to Jesus jail, but I'm definitely not staying here. And so I make the switch back home to the hometown to my aunt and uncle's Jesus jail, religion prison, if you will, whatever you want to call it. So now it's October 2023. I've been down south for 10 months and I have no job. I deviated from my plan that I planned so meticulously, and now we're here. So, okay, fine, I'll get unemployment. Unemployment was like $700 a week because I was getting unemployment from up north, and that shit lasted like 6 months. In my mind, that's way longer than I'll need to get a job. Spoiler alert, wrong. Wrong as fuck. It ended up taking me almost a year to find a job. Within that year, things got even worse. I was literally suicidal at my aunt and uncle's, and I've never been like for real suicidal. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I never sat there and was like, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, I'm gonna do this, but I definitely have gotten to points in my life where I'm like, it'd probably be better if I'm just not here. If I wasn't here, maybe things would be better. But I never followed through with it. I would never do that to my son. So literally, probably the only thing that kept me going. The bills were, eventually unemployment ended. I had no income. The bills were still going. My car was behind. Like, it was just a lot. Everything was crumbling down around me, and the situation with my aunt at home was worse. It was just getting worse and worse. And so eventually, I ended up going to another aunt's house on my dad's side, who I didn't know almost at all. But she kept offering, extending, like, come here, just come here. Why are you going through that? Why are you going through this? What I didn't know is she was plotting on me to be like her slave. And again, another situation that I'll probably tell more later because I don't feel like going into that shit. It was wild. Within 2 months of being there, she told me I needed to get out. And it was more because, so this might ruffle a lot of feathers, but Southern people are weird, bro. Especially in really small towns like where I'm from. And I'm very respectful but honest. Just because you don't like what I'm saying doesn't make what I'm saying disrespectful. And I don't know, she would often tell me I was too cityfied for her. Whatever the fuck that means. I know what it means, but I was struggling with her because she didn't like that I was honest or I said what I thought. And sometimes, especially now looking back, I realize that my opinion opinionated or upfront self, sometimes the honesty is just not the best thing to have. People don't like when you call them out or hold them accountable for things, or you set boundaries or don't let them treat you certain ways. And so it was a lot of that going on. And so her like fucking get back was to tell me get the fuck out, and I was like, bitch, okay. So now I'm about to be homeless. I can't go back to my other aunt's house. It's just a situation. But lo and behold, I finally get an offer. Almost like exactly a year from getting laid off, I get an offer, and I make the decision to I can either go live with my friend who lives in Baltimore, or I can go come to Atlanta. One of my friends was offering her couch, and I was like, okay. But then I also had a friend who I knew had an Airbnb that he used, him and his partner. They had an Airbnb. It was an additional unit on their property, and he had often, because he and I worked a few jobs together, including the job that I had gotten laid off from when I moved down south. He had always offered, if you ever come to Atlanta, you can come stay here for free, just let me know so I can make sure it's not booked. So anyway, I ended up hitting him up very literally the day before or the couple of days before I needed to be out of my aunt's. And I was like, bro, how would you feel? Yada, yada, yada. I rent long-term Airbnb, da, 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 da. He was like, yes, him and his partner agreed, yes. So we agreed I was going to rent here for about 3 months and come down and get myself together, because I didn't necessarily want to go to Baltimore right away. My car is older, and I felt like the harsh winters was going to impact some things I had going on. Like my car's rusty. It was just a lot. I was trying to, I don't know. I think at that moment it was easier to move to Georgia than to go up north. And also I think I just wanted to be in my own space. I didn't want to live with anyone else after everything I went through for the last year. And so this was a more ideal situation. So I came here. And for the first 6 months, it was amazing. Everything was great. My bills were back on track. I was back to be getting to myself. I had to, I wasn't shopping anymore, because a year, I'm normally a shopaholic, but after a year being unemployed and dealing with what I dealt with, that was one of the biggest pluses, was learning that I didn't need all the things that I was buying constantly. And I was managing my money a lot better. And so, but being able just to pay my bills and have money and not worry and things like that it was great. Now, what was going on was child support was back in the picture, because they had not been enforcing since 2020 because of COVID, and now they were back. And so not only were they enforcing it again, but they had accrued there was a lot of money that got accrued, because when my sons came to live with me, I did not go to sport and let them know this. And so they were still accruing child support for both kids for a number of years, at least 2 years. And so now my arrears are $17K. Okay, I was in the middle of recording or editing, and I realized this is too long. So let's make this a part 1, and I'll see you over in part 2.
You've been watching Goodz TV. Too good to rehearse. Too good to hide. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Goodz.